Adonai kol haaretz shiru Adonai shir chadash shiru Adonai kol haaretz shiru Adonai shir chadash shiru Adonai kol haaretz shiru Adonai. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz shiru Adonai shir chadash shiru Adonai kol haaretz shiru Adonai shir chadash.
Shabbat Shalom
Shabbat Shalom.
and welcome. It's a pleasure to see you all here in person and online. Welcome as we gather together to celebrate Shabbat. I invite you to just take a moment, prepare. First of all, check your cell phone, make sure it's in silent mode, release yourself of that ball and chain just for an hour or so. Take a moment, look around the room, locate the exits, make sure you have a sense of security around you, and take a deep breath. Settle yourself, look around, find something beautiful. Take a moment just to be here in Shabbat. And finally, the most important thing, look around, find one person you don't know. Introduce yourself to that person, welcome them, and wish them Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Melinda Pankin,
I'm Cantor Wally Shackett Briskin.
and you will notice these beautiful masked faces up here who are going to be singing our beautiful choir led by Suzanne. And we encourage all of you, whether you're here in the room where it happens or out in your living room where it also happens, to sing along and be joyous. Jennifer, our president, is in Egypt, and I'm not sure if anybody's doing announcements tonight. Is anybody? I don't. Okay, please. So it's my pleasure to welcome Ali Glazer to share some announcements with us. Mondays for everyone.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Ali Glazer. It's great to see you all. It's great to share the bima with the choir, with Cantor Wally, and of course with Rabbi Pankin. There is a congregation meeting this Sunday night. So if you do nothing else with the congregation in the next 7 days, get on Zoom Sunday night at 7 o'clock to join the very important twice-a-year congregation meeting. And there is a volunteer activity Sunday morning. Stacy is affirming me, so you might want to jump in, but Stacy Goto is the point person for Undies for a Cause.
Undies for everyone.
Undies for everyone, because everyone should have undies. And so our social action committee is going to make sure that the Boys and Girls Club has undies. So come and fold them, donate them, but you could look on our website for more information. And there are Yoshi events going on, there's Men's Club, there's Sisterhood events coming up, so check out our website. And on April 30th, there is a comedy night here and an online option. So we hope you will join us, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Don't go anywhere because Ali is going to join us, along with Stacy and Sam Goto, to lead us in the blessings over the candles and the wine. You can follow along either on the Magic TV or on page 121 in the prayer books, which you can find underneath your seats. Get closer to the mic.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Page 123, we continue with the Kiddush.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctify us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Borei
Pri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, me'ahava uv'ratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. Page 124, we join in reading together. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Page 142.
page 144, our Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye lechol beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizaman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Bevarach Le'alam u'la'alamei alamaya Yitbarach Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitba'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yitaleh ve'yithalal Shemei Dekudsha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran me'alma v'yimeru. Amen. On page 146, our call to worship. If you're able, please rise.
Together in the middle of 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Elohim
a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
Mi kamocha, Elim Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar bakodesh, Norah tehilot, osefele, Norah tehilot, osefele, Yababa bim bim bam, yababa bim bam, yababa bim bim bam, yababa bim bam, ay 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 ay, yababa bim bam, ay 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 ay, yababa bim bam, ma'alechutecha ra'u vanecha, okei ayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli anu ve'amru, Adonai Malach leolam vayed. Yababa bim bim bam, yababa bim bam, yababa bim bim bam, yababa bim bam, ay 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 ay, yababa bim bam, ay 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 ay, yababa bim bam.
Page 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 164, we prepare to rise for Amidah. This may be the first service that you're at where we've switched in the middle of, at the beginning of the Givurot from Mashiv Haruach Morid Agashem, a familiar line that we've been saying all winter or singing all winter that says, God, please bring the rains and the wind, to now, God, please allow dew to settle upon us. We're ready for more gentle weather. Page 164, please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated.
Page 173, together at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Haborei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Haborei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, Haborei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. We pause for a moment of silent prayer. Shalom Bimromav, Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'emeru Amen. Ve'al Kol Yisrael Amen.
We take a moment in our service to say a prayer for those who are ill and those who are in need of healing and wholeness, be it of their body, their mind, or their spirit. This Shabbat, we especially hold in our heart Daniel and Mindy Minerva, Stephen Rice, Jordan Silverman, Brian Roche, Norma Menaker, Ron Klug, Karen Schiffman Goldstein, Arlene Schwartz, Harriet Domrow, Kate Ratner, Adam Aptaker, Rachel Wall, Roberta Rayburn, Ron Labovitz, Grayson Shukovsky, Barbara Levino, Michelle Safran, Rich Bowden, Spencer Gray Rothstein, Benita Apple, Brody Scher, Carol Levine, Fira Schwartz, Samuel Finkelstein, Jenna Schneller, Bonnie Eskowitz, Bert Stillman, Richard Craig, Abe and Rhea Drucker, Linda Esposito, Myra Baskin, Cheryl Herskowitz, David Shore, Auntie Annie, Jared Narotsky, Ruth Ellen Resch, June Martin, Jeffrey Cohen, Harriet Marcus, Joyce Welkis, Michael Dollinger, Rick Gratch, Halel Miriam Bat-Rivka Nechama Tziona Singer, Alexander and Eugenia Litovskaya, Rick Swartzel, Jacob Rosenberg, Jim Woods, Annette Michaels, Rose Spiraza, Rachel Orenstein, and Alan Jacobs. And we certainly hold in our hearts those afflicted with COVID-19, all those who have been injured in the Ukraine, and those who were injured in the hateful attack in Lakewood last week. If there are others that we should mention this week, I invite you to simply say their names aloud now. For those we've named, for those we haven't, and for those we name silently in our hearts, Misha Beirach Avotenu V'Imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who are ill. May their doctors and nurses be skillful and compassionate. May those who care for them find support and comfort. And may they all be granted refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, the complete healing of body and spirit. As together we say,
On the heels of the second day of Passover, all the way through Shavuot, we count up 49 days in anticipation of receiving the Torah in a count that we call the Omer count. And so on page 570, you can follow along, or also up on the screen, our blessing for counting the Omer, anticipating greatly the receiving of Torah in just about 6 weeks. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom shiv'a yamim shehem shavua echad la'omer. Today is 7 days, which is 1 week of the Omer.
So on Tuesday, 4 days into Pesach, I received a text, "What are you doing tomorrow night? Would you like to go to the governor's Seder?" I thought, do I have anything to wear? Do I really want to go? and then I thought, if you're invited to the governor's Seder, you gotta go. The invitation came from Sarah Blaine, a good friend and also the lead organizer from RAC, New Jersey. And she said, "We talked about it and we thought you should be the one to go." So I said, okay, I'll happily be your +1. "Where is it?" And she said, "Well, it's at Drumthwacket," say that 5 times fast, "in Princeton, the governor's residence." And so, of course, I had to immediately Google Drumthwacket and thought, unfortunately, I'd named both of my children because Drumthwacket would have been a great name for one of them. But it's on a property that was purchased in 1680 by William Penn, a large tract of land, including Princeton and the surrounds. And Penn encouraged Quaker families to settle there. It was eventually purchased by a man named Stockton, who established the large estate. And in 1777, it was right in that area that Washington led his troops and into the Battle of Princeton, which became a turning point in the Revolutionary War. In 1966, the state of New Jersey purchased this property and the mansion to make it into the governor's residence. And it's only one of 3 governor's residences in the US that are not in the capital of the state. You would think he would be in Trenton, make it a little bit easier to get to work, but no, he's in Princeton, not so far away. It's near Princeton Theological Seminary, and it's a beautiful, beautiful area. If you've ever wandered through Princeton, it's worth the day trip for us. So I put it in my GPS. It takes me to Drumthwacket. I enter the big gate. I'm greeted by a lovely young guard who asks for my name. I park in the back, and I enter this historic house. We schmooze a little bit in this library, and you think when you're in a kind of estate like this, who else had a drink in this library? And when you start reading about who visited there, you get some interesting information. But eventually the governor and the first lady come in and say hello to everyone, and then they invite us into dinner into this room that has a very long table, and 36 people gather around the table. I love the Jewish number there. It wasn't lost on me. And around the table were all kinds of religious leaders. There were Catholics and Hindus. Unfortunately, there were no Muslims, not because they weren't invited, but simply because it was Ramadan. And you don't really want to invite Muslims to a big feast during Ramadan. But they did send their regrets. And there were also a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. I sat next to a Korean newscaster who's the president of the American Korean Society in New Jersey. There was a Republican senator, the minority leader, Senator Robert Singer, who was there, the acting attorney general, Matt Platkin, Mayor Bush from Metuchen, who's the cousin of a good friend of mine who's a rabbi. There were leaders from the ADL in New Jersey and the Federation, the CEO of Tenuva, the Israeli food company, which is the largest Israeli food company in the US, which happens to be located in New Jersey. There were commissioners and more senators and state assembly members, and then there were staff members from the governor's staff, and there were 3 Jewish clergy there. And interestingly, this is a first for me, because the 3 Jewish clergy were Cantor Martha Novick, Rabbi Leanna Morit, and me. What do you notice about that trio? We're all women. It's the first time I've ever been in a room of only female clergy, Jewish clergy. It wasn't a long Seder. It was a taste of Seder. Everybody enjoyed singing Dayenu a couple of times. The candles were lit. There were 4 cups of wine, and I learned something about the governor and that he only drinks New Jersey wine, but this was the only night in the mansion that they did not have New Jersey wine. Why? Because nobody in New Jersey makes kosher for Passover wine. So we all said, next year around the table, we'll drink, you gotta find someone to make some kosher for Passover New Jersey wine. And the Seder, interestingly enough, was led by Cantor Novick, who sang, and the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, and there was a beautiful little Haggadah that was put together with some nice readings that had the governor's seal on it. It was all lovely. We make our way through the Seder. We dip a little parsley, eat a little haroset, and then the meal is served, matzo ball soup. I don't know, that recipe was like the best matzo balls I've ever had. Who do you ask to get the governor's recipe for matzo balls? I totally assumed that there were like 8 grandmothers in the kitchen working, making this good soup. The roast chicken was delicious. My mother would have liked it. And then there were the traditional Pesach desserts. What was really outstanding about the Seder was the discussion. It was beautiful because the governor invited everyone around the table to introduce themselves. And then he, in between the courses, asked the leaders from the ADL to say a few words about anti-Semitism and the report that's coming out from the ADL on the rising tide of hatred and, in particular, anti-Semitism. Last year, New Jersey was number 2 in anti-Semitic events, only to be surpassed by New York, which was number 1. And, you know, sadly, those trends are not going to change. So there was a long discussion about anti-Semitism and the governor's response to the incident in Lakewood and how quickly the state of New Jersey acted to apprehend the terrorist who inflicted that terrible event. The governor also shared a lot about his 8 trips to Israel. His 9th is coming up in August, and talked about his travel in Israel. And he highlighted the desire as well to make this Seder that he was inviting us to not just a Jewish Seder, that he wanted to use it to build interfaith connection. And that's why there were so many different kinds of people, different colored skins, different religions, different backgrounds. There were educators around the table. He brought us all together to build bridges, because if anti-Semitism rises, the most important thing for the Jewish community is to have friends who will stand up for us and with us. And that goes both ways, that those who were African American around the table needed to know that they were at the table with the Jewish community, which would then stand up for them in moments of hatred. And the young Korean man sitting next to me to know that I would stand up for him. And I think that was the most significant part about the Seder for me, was not that it was the most kosher Seder or the best food or the most New Jersey wine, but that it was about bringing people together, about building bridges and creating support for the Jewish community, creating tolerance and understanding between people. It was very cute because towards the end of the Seder, his son stopped by to say hello, and there was this glimpse of a normal family as he and his wife apologized that they weren't dressed for Seder. One is a senior at the Petty School, and the other is a junior at Princeton. And they both came in and said hello and talked about watching sports with their dad later on. And you got a glimpse of a real family. And I always think it's important for us to remember whoever sits in the governor's seat, whoever sits in the president's seat, we have to remember that these are real people with real families. I was glad in the end that I went, not just because I was curious and because I wanted to see the inside of Drum Thwacket and just be able to say Drum Thwacket over and over. But I was glad I went because the people around the table cared about being around the table, about building bridges. They cared about the Jewish community, and they recognized the rising hatred and the work that needs to be done to stop it. So I don't know if I can say next year in Drumthwacket. I don't know if I'll be around that table again. I am grateful that Sarah asked me to join her. But I can say, may the Seder at Drumthwacket be a model of peace and friendship that descends upon our world to heal it. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. We continue now with Aleinu, page 586.
Please rise.
Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim u'mishachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom ha'hu, bayom ha'hu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. Please be seated.
Page 599. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you are here remembering a loved one and we read their name, we invite you to rise if you wish, and to stand until we join with you in standing for the mourner's Kaddish at the end. This evening we remember one whose family is currently in the 7-day mourning period of Shiva, Michael Novins, nephew of Harriet Domro. We remember the over 1,016,000 Americans who have succumbed to COVID-19 and the over 6 million around the world. We remember those whose yard site falls this week: Joseph Bass, Stanley Bauman, Leah Aaron Beiser, Sarah Bernstein, Rose Blum, Marilyn Brief, Ruth Deutsch, Max Dorfman, Florence Fells, Henry Ferber, Rose Fisher, Faye Gelber, Robert Gilbert, Philip Glasser, Sophie Goldman, Rose Goldrich, Sylvia Goldstein, Barbara Greenblatt, Rosalind Green, Regina Hasten, Lily Jaffe, Philip Kalmus, Aaron Katz, Arthur Kaufman, Edith Kipnis, Stanley Comito, Harry Kornblue, Seal Leifer, Shirley Lev, Sadie Liebman, David Mickey Marcus, Harry Markowitz, Hy Myers, Sina Molinoff, Saul Niloff.
Joseph Pash, Herman Pollock, Morton Pomerantz, Lucy J. Raimonda, Sheldon Ratner, Julia Rhodes, George Rittenberg, Rose Rappaport Rosen, Irving Rosenblum, Faye Rosenblum, Ilsa Ross, Bernard Salkin, Jack Sampson, Arthur Schwartz, Arthur Seifer, Sophie Shapiro, Ronald Spiegler, Gilbert Spritzer, David Stern, Adam Strassler, Barbara Walters, Viola Wax, Ilsa Weidhorn, Jack Weinstein, Millie Weinstein, Gino Weiss, Morris Weiss, Ruth Weiss, David Yavarkovsky, Rose Yellen, Sonia Yanikoff, Bernard Human, David Zaks, Ruben Zweifler. And each week we call to mind 6 individuals whom we name individually who were people in the Holocaust who died. Abraham Bach, Manya Gierschman, Judith Brausdorfer, Ruth May, Israel Mansnicker, Joseph Messenger.
Zichronam Lavracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. Page 598, we rise as a community for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach irute v'yamlich malchute. Bechaye chon uviome chon. Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehe shemei rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to those who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved, as together we say. Please be seated. We always take a moment in our service to thank those who made donations to the synagogue, because your donations mean that you're partners in creating a Jewish future with the community, and we thank you for that. That is sacred work. Donations were made this week in memory of Eugene Paris, Glenn Cohen, Jerry Bursey, Michael Novins, and Michael Davis. Donations were made for the yard site of Estelle Craig, Seymour Diamond, Robert Gilbert, Faye Rosenblum, Irving Rosenblum, Stanley Bauman, Lillian Rosenberg, Henry Ferber, George Rittenberg, Norma Davis, Tilly Harris, Jack Owitz, Stanley Comito, Dr. Solomon Schechter, Harry Kornblue, Morris Weiss, Ronald Spiegler, Jack Weinstein, Millie Weinstein, Daniel Gaynor, Sylvia Goldstein, Morton Salmon, Faye Gelber, Hyman Trencher, Herman Pollack, Alan Waldman, Sarah Bernstein, Nathan Yerman, Rose Fisher, and Ruth Deutsch. It's always nice to share some good things with one another. You know, I always send you home with homework. If you don't have anything to share, you have to come next week with something good. Is there anything nice?
Why don't we ask Fabian to walk around with the remote mic, which is just on your right over there, Rabbi. And
Fabian will be Phil Donahue for tonight. Does this have to be turned on?
sometimes it does. So then let's see.
Maybe.
Batteries are working. Go like this. And if you hear a loud pop, then you know the batteries are not working. Is this on?
Apparently it is.
Hello?
Something nice? Oh,
Yes.
Cynthia.
So I heard my son's name in the Misha Berach. He had major surgery. He is completely recovered. He's completely out of pain, and we are very happy with that. He can take his name off the list.
Can you remind us on Monday when the synagogue's open? Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
I had a Seder with my 95-year-old great-grandmother.
Oh, that's nice. How was it?
It was good.
Did you do the 4 questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make her do them? No. That's nice. That's a blessing.
So my granddaughter, who was in graduate school
Throw it
for
away.
Jewish studies, had the lead in the Rocky Horror Show.
Wow.
And the pictures are hard to look at. If you know.
So tomorrow, I'm actually going to have the opportunity to play golf with my grandson for the first time, and hope I have the patience.
I survived Legoland with 3 of the oldest grandkids.
That's a machaya back in the We're going to make you run around tonight, Fabian.
Oh, it's okay. I could use the exercise.
Only because I love cooking with the rabbi on Zoom. You will be pleased to know for the second night, I had 20 people, and I tried all new recipes, a new brisket recipe, a new chicken recipe, and I made fabulous kosher for Passover desserts, and they all were a success. So we need to have a cooking Zoom and share.
Okay.
I came home from visiting my mother in Florida the day before Pesach, and unlike you, Farah, I could not possibly figure out how I was going to cook Seder in, a few hours. So I'm blessed to have friends that invited us over, so I did not have to have cook Seder this year.
That's nice. Someone else?
We're excited that Zachary committed to Ramapo College.
New
So
Jersey.
we're very excited
He's
about
not
it.
going far.
Anybody else?
I would just like to announce that my son was Student of the Month at Pinebrook. I'm very proud of him. Yeah. Good boy.
And since I have the mic, I guess I can say something. And I just want to welcome the rabbi back, and we're thankful that we have her with us, and we're looking for a wonderful year together.
And with that, I think we're going to move on to a little bit of motzi. You'll see it's
They're
not
very
your
flat.
traditional motzi, it's matzah brittle.
Our normal fluffy challah slide has been replaced by some flat bread.
So someone actually asked, when do you break Passover? So if you follow 7 days, grab a slice of pizza on your way home from shul tonight. And if you don't celebrate 7 days, you can grab a piece of pizza and a beer tomorrow night after the 8th day. But we always at the synagogue observe the 8 days with oneg, just because we never know who celebrates 8 and who celebrates 7, and God forbid someone not be able to eat at the oneg. So.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. I want to thank our wonderful choir under the direction of Suzanne Moore, and let's hear from them a Hava Neshira. Let us sing together.
We invite you, if you're with someone that you can put an arm around, to put an arm around. If you are a little less likely to grab other people, put your hands on your heart. As we come in blessing, so too we leave one another in blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May we be blessed, may we be safe. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'choneka. May we be luminous, may we be loved. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May we be joyous, may we be healthy, may we be whole. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.